The alarm hit before my boots even touched the deck. Red light, sharp and sudden, filling the corridor like something alive. My name is Claire Whitfield, and 6 hours earlier I had been told the war was over. Now I was running toward the one room on this ship where that peace could still fall apart. The door to the command deck slid open with a hiss, and the smell hit me first. Something sharp and metallic, mixed with the strange sweetness that always came from Urkale blood. Then I saw her, the Queen. 11 feet of violet armor plating, collapsed across the floor like a fallen tower. Her attendants were screaming in a language my translator could barely keep up with, their voices rising and falling in panic. "Get back," I shouted, dropping my kit beside her. "All of you, get back." One of them grabbed my arm. His grip was strong enough to crack bone if he wanted to. His eyes, all 6 of them, were wide with fear. "You cannot touch her," he said. "It is forbidden. No outsider has ever." "She is dying," I said, cutting him off, and in about 90 seconds, forbidden will not matter anymore. He let go. Maybe it was my tone, maybe it was the way I did not blink. Either way, I dropped to my knees beside the Queen and pressed 2 fingers against the side of her neck, searching for anything that resembled a pulse point in a body built nothing like mine. Her breathing was wrong, wet and slow, dragging in through small openings along her chest like her body had forgotten how the whole process worked. Blood, dark gold and thick, pooled beneath her side. Nobody had treated the wound. Everyone assumed she was already gone. "She is not dying from the fight," I said, mostly to myself. "She is dying because nobody bothered to help her." I grabbed gauze from my kit, not caring that it was made for human skin and not hers. It would have to work. I pressed it hard against the wound, and her body jerked, a sharp twitch that sent one of her attendants stumbling back in surprise. "Careful," the older one hissed. "If she wakes and finds a human hand on her, she may—" "If I don't finish this, she won't wake up at all," I said. "Hold her steady, now." The ship rocked suddenly, throwing me sideways. Somewhere below us, something had struck the hull, hard enough to rattle the walls. My radio crackled to life. "Claire, this is Daniel," my commanding officer's voice, tight and urgent. "We have a problem. 3 Urkale warships just dropped out of hyperspace on the far side of the debris field. They are not responding to hails." My stomach dropped. "Are they hostile?" "Unknown, but if word gets out that their queen died on a human ship during a ceasefire, hostile will not begin to describe it." I looked down at her. 6 eyes, half open, staring at something none of us could see. If she stopped breathing now, in the next few minutes, there would be no explaining this to anyone. No treaty would survive it. No apology would be enough. "She is not dying today," I said, more to myself than to Daniel. "Not on my watch." I kept the pressure steady, feeling her pulse flutter beneath my fingers, weak but still there. My mind raced through everything I had read about Urkale physiology on the transport out. 4 hearts, long spiracles along the chest instead of lungs. A blood type that clotted differently than ours, thick and slow unless treated fast. "I need a transfusion kit," I said, turning to the nearest attendant. "Does she have donors on board? Someone with matching blood type?" The older one hesitated, glancing at the others. "Her sister is aboard, but the sister will not allow herself to be. Bring her here. Now, tell her that if she does not help, she loses her queen in the next 10 minutes. He disappeared through the doorway without another word. I turned back to the wound, cleaning it as best I could, my hands steady even though my heart was pounding hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. The corridor lights flickered again as the ship shifted under another impact somewhere far below. "Daniel," I said into the radio, "how much time do I have before those ships decide to make a move?" "Not much. Maybe 10 minutes before they either back off or come in hot. Whatever you are doing in there, do it fast. 10 minutes. I looked at the Queen's face, at the strange calm settling into her features, the kind that came right before a body gave up trying. I was not about to let that happen. The doorway burst open again, and a second Urkale entered, smaller than the Queen but built from the same violet armor, moving with a grace that spoke of nobility even in a crisis. This had to be the sister. "You are the human who touched her," she said, her voice low, almost accusing. "I am the human trying to keep her alive," I said. "I need your blood. Now, sit down, roll up whatever passes for a sleeve on your species, and trust me." She hesitated only a second before doing exactly that. I attached the line, watching the thick golden fluid begin its slow path from her arm toward the Queen's. It was crude, improvised, nothing like the equipment I would have used on a human, but it was the only option we had. "Talk to her," I told the sister. "Whatever language she understands best, whatever calms her, use it now." The sister leaned close, whispering something soft and rhythmic. almost like a song. The Queen's breathing hitched, caught, and for one terrible second I thought we had lost her completely. Then it steadied, slow but steady, dragging air through those spiracles in a rhythm that sounded less like a body giving up, and more like one fighting back. "That's it," I whispered. "Come on, stay with us." The ship rocked again, harder this time, throwing sparks from a nearby panel. My radio crackled once more. "Claire, this is Daniel. The ships are moving closer. They are hailing us, but the message is garbled. We think they want confirmation the Queen is alive." "Then give me 2 more minutes," I said. "I am not finished." I checked her pulse again, stronger now, steadier, the panic in her body slowly giving way to something calmer. Her eyes, all 6 of them, blinked once, twice, and then focused, sharp and aware, locking onto me. "You," she said, her voice raspy, the translator lagging half a second behind her words. "You are not your Kale." "No," I said, keeping the pressure steady on her wound. "I am not." "Then why does a human hand save a queen?" I did not look away from her, even though every instinct told me this was a creature powerful enough to end my life without effort. "Because 6 hours ago, you signed something that said our people do not have to fight anymore. And I did not spend years learning how to save lives just to let that promise die on a floor because nobody in this room thought a human was allowed to help." Her mandibles clicked together, slow, almost amused despite the pain written across her face. Bold, for something so small and soft. "I get told that a lot," I said. The radio crackled again. "Claire, the ships are backing off. They received confirmation. Whatever you did, it worked." Relief hit me so hard, I nearly lost my balance kneeling there. But I did not stop working. The wound still needed proper closing, and her vitals, while improving, were far from stable. I called for the medical team waiting just outside, and within moments they rushed in with equipment built for her exact biology, something I had requested the second I boarded this ship, hoping I would never actually need it. As the proper equipment took over, I finally stepped back, my hands trembling now that the adrenaline was beginning to fade. The sister, still connected by the transfusion line, looked at me with an expression I could not quite read. "You risked everything," she said. "For a stranger. For someone your people fought against for years." "The fighting ended," I said. "Somebody has to be the one who acts like it actually did." The older attendant, the one who had grabbed my arm at the very start, approached slowly, his 6 eyes studying me with something between confusion and respect. "In our history, no outsider has ever touched a queen and lived to speak of it afterward. Yet here you stand. Then maybe it is time your history changed," I said. 2 hours later, the Queen's condition had stabilized enough for the medical team to move her to proper recovery quarters. I stood outside the room, leaning against the corridor wall, finally letting my body feel the exhaustion it had been holding back since the alarm first sounded. Daniel found me there, holding 2 cups of something warm. "You did good in there," he said, handing me one. "I almost lost her twice," I said. "That does not feel like good." "She is alive. The ships backed off. The treaty holds. That is more than good, Claire. That is history." I took a sip, letting the warmth settle something inside me that had been shaking for the better part of an hour. "I just did my job." "Your job was to treat our people," Daniel said. "Nobody ordered you in there." "Somebody had to go," I said, "and nobody else was moving." He studied me for a moment, then smiled, the kind of tired smile that comes after a crisis finally passes. "The Yurkale are already calling you something. Some kind of title. I do not think it translates perfectly, but the closest version means something like the one who refuses to let go." I almost laughed, mostly from exhaustion. "I will take it." 3 days later, before the ship reached the nearest station, the Queen requested to see me one final time. I entered her quarters, finding her sitting upright now, stronger, her violet armor catching the light in a way that made her look less like the collapsed figure I had found, and more like the powerful leader she truly was.
"You saved my life,"
she said, her voice steady now, no longer raspy with pain, against the wishes of my own attendants, against what our history says should have happened. "I could not just stand there," I said, "not when there was something I could do." "That is precisely why I asked to see you," she said. "My people are proud, stubborn. We do not easily change what we believe about outsiders, but you gave us no choice except to question it." She reached toward a small object beside her, something carved from a smooth, dark material, and offered it to me. "This has belonged to queens of my line for generations. I want you to have it. Not as payment, as a reminder for both our people, that history can be rewritten by a single choice." I took it carefully, feeling the weight of it settle in my palm, heavier than its size suggested. "Thank you," I said. But the real reminder should not be an object. It should be what we do next. She studied me for a long moment, something like genuine respect passing behind her 6 eyes. Then let us make sure what comes next is worth remembering. When I finally left her quarters, the corridor outside felt different somehow, lighter, as if the ship itself understood something significant had shifted within its walls. I walked back toward the medical bay, past crew members who nodded at me with expressions I had not seen before, something between gratitude and quiet awe. Daniel met me halfway. "Command wants a full report," he said. "But that can wait until tomorrow. Get some rest, Claire. You earned it." I nodded, though sleep felt distant, my mind still replaying every second of that room, every breath I had fought to keep steady. But underneath the exhaustion was something else too, something steady and certain, the kind of feeling that comes only after doing something that actually mattered. A year later, when the first joint medical exchange program between our two peoples finally launched, they named its founding scholarship after a young medic who had never once paused to ask whether the patient in front of her deserved saving before deciding to act. I still keep that carved object on my desk, a quiet reminder of the night piece nearly slipped away, and the choice that kept it standing. Some agreements are signed with ink. Ours was sealed with steady hands, 4 failing hearts, and a human who simply refused to let go.